you. Thanks again for joining us. Today, today we not only have members of our user community, but maybe we also have other attendees that maybe his first time with us. So welcome everyone. We are so happy to have you all here today. Before starting, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping topics. I'm not sure if we have proactively muted you for avoiding background noise, but if not, please do. Of course, we also invite you to your comments and questions. So please look at the Q&A chat box on your screen. It's on your right side if you open it at the top. So if you think of a question for the speakers at any point, type in there and I will either post it or to our speaker at that time or hold it for the discussion portion at the end of the webinar. And today's webinar is recorded. It's been recorded, so we will be able to share a link with you after the event or once the event is complete. So we welcome you to revisit the content yourself and share it with other colleagues within your organizations. And for those who do not know me, my name is Rebecca, and I'm part of the DFnet team since February 2020, right before the pandemic started. And I think we can start, Laura, with the next slide. It's true for all of us that work in the clinical trial field that COVID outbreak has changed how we have been doing things, but not only for us researchers or sponsors, but also in the ultimate case has been also devastating for the patients, suspensions, trial delays, and reduced recruitment. But on the right side, it has helped or forced in some cases to accelerate technology adoption, facilitating the digital transformation, and this is why we are here today. And in the next slide, the shift has, one of the questions is how this shift has played out in data collection. The percentage, depending on the source that we read, may vary, but there is a common agreement that remote monitoring adoption has increased, mostly out of necessity, probably. And a recent study, a recent industry survey showed that more than 2/3 of sites and sponsors reported over 50% of monitoring visits that are now remote, compared to only 20% last year, and even less the previous year. So it seems that remote monitoring is here to stay, even though sometimes we will need some help to implementing it. So in the next slide, I'd like to share you that probably most of you already know that in DFnet we are on a mission to help researchers move science forward, and this goes through putting sponsors, sites, and participants first. And that's why we at DFnet, we aim to support your research from design, moving along to enrollment, data capture until the data is analyzed. And in the next slide, together with our data management and data science professional service, we offer a complete suite of e-clinical products. And today we are announcing how to perform remote source data verification with DFsources within DFdiscover, our most recent solution. So within the next slides, I will leave that to my colleagues, Laura Joldersma and Jennifer Sustin. Laura Joldersma, Product Manager located in Ontario, Canada, and Jennifer Sustin, Project Team Lead as in Data Manager in Ohio, United States. So they will walk you through the main aspects of DFsources. So at this time, I'm going to hand the floor over Laura and Jennifer. So it's all yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. So we started off with just a compilation of some regulatory guidances from around the world around central and remote monitoring. So as Rebecca said, COVID-19 pandemic changed a lot of things in all of our lives, and central and remote monitoring was one of them. These are guidances mostly from the start of the pandemic. So you can see sort of from around the world, there was a push to move towards central and remote monitoring. And the way you actually perform remote monitoring can be really different, right? Depending on the types of tools that you have available, what's at the site. You can do virtual remote monitoring visits where a monitor might remotely log into the site system locally at the clinical research center. Sites might have a separate platform where they collect their source document collections separate from the EDC. You might have an EDC system that allows collection of source documents as well, so that they live in a single system, or you could be leaning more towards doing more central data and statistical monitoring, and you could be doing a combination of these things. And so with DFdiscover, and what we're focusing on today is really having the EDC data along with your source documents within a single system. And so that's what DFdiscover supports, and that's what DFsources is going to make even easier for you than it used to be. So the way the workflow works is that, the site first enters their data in the EDC on their CRF pages, and then they can just add those source documents directly within the EDC. The monitor gets access to that information, they can review those documents and then complete their source data verification process. So the benefits behind all of this is all the information lives in a system. You can avoid those on-site monitoring visits. That's less travel time, less travel cost, especially with all of the airport delays going on around the world these days. And also the SDV, the monitoring processes, can be performed on the monitor's schedule. So it's more flexible for them and things can happen very quickly, especially as you're scaling up towards database lock. A lot of that final stuff can be done right at that moment rather than having to visit the site directly. And so the methods for collecting source documents in DFdiscover, we have a few different options. And of course, the main one we'll be talking about today is DFsources, our new mobile application. But there are also options for attaching documents in DFweb and DFcollect, our web-based and our mobile online-offline data collection app. In DFexplore, we have two different options depending on the type of documents you're going to get included. We have separate features specifically for paper CRFs that are barcoded, getting those into the system. And we also have a command line program that you can use if you have large volumes of documents that need to be uploaded all at once. You can do that in a batch method from the server side. So more about DFsources. So this is a mobile app, and it's specifically designed to allow you to upload source documents faster to your DFdiscover studies. So you're able to take photos with your device or upload files that already exist on your device. You identify the record keys. You can redact any personal identifiers. You can mark the documents as a certified copy of the original. And we'll show you a little bit more detail on all of those shortly. And this is available for Android as well as iOS and iPad. So just a quick look at some of the features. Jen is going to get into more detail on how all of this works with a live demo shortly. But you're able to adjust your images. You can crop and rotate. You can adjust the brightness, convert to grayscale. You can identify your source document, so you can specify exactly what data record in what database for what subject this record needs to be attached to. And then there's the option to redact, so you can select any area on the source document to black out and to make sure that whatever information is below that black box won't be visible at all in the EDC system once that source document is uploaded. And then there's also an option to certify, so you can mark that document as a certified copy and provide your password to confirm that the image that you see on the screen is actually a replication of the actual original documentation. And that adds a message at the bottom of the image or the document. So it's just a quick look at the features in DFsources. In this table, we've compiled all the different source document submission methods that are available in DFdiscover to sort of outline what are your options and what are the different features available for each of these options. So the submission method is on the left. Where that document gets submitted to is in the second column. The supported file types is the third column. Whether or not multiple page documents are supported, the file size limit, and then the permissions required within DFdiscover. So all of that's laid out. The main thing I want to direct your attention to is that the first four options are ones that allow you to attach source documents directly to a data record in the database. So either a record that already exists with data on it or a record that will have EDC data on it at some point. And those last two options are specifically for paper-based data collection where you have your barcoded forms. Those forms get submitted to the image view within DFexplore, and then that data gets entered. And so it's the paper-based data collection rather than EDC. So it's part of a paper-based or a hybrid system. So trying to figure out what the best submission method is kind of based off what scenarios you're dealing with. So if you have individual images or PDFs, where it's one document per data record, DFsources is a perfect solution for that. And also the attached subject documents feature in DFexplore, DFweb, and DFcollect is great for that. The import subject CRFs in DF Explorer is a great option if you have bulk multi-page PDFs. So we have multiple subjects, multiple data records in that one PDF page. And so that allows you to split up each page within that PDF and send each of those pages to different data records. So that's the option if that's your scenario with how your source documents are getting scanned or compiled. And like I said, the barcoded paper CRFs or shuttle forms, you would use DFsend or submit PDF, and that gets entered into the database via the image view in DF Explorer. And then if you do have a large volume of individual PDFs or images, so you have a big folder full of PDFs and you don't want to go through them one by one, we have a DFattach command line tool, and that's something that will allow you to read through that list of documents in that specific file and then send them to the correct data records all in one action. So some things to think about when you're considering using these different features. So with DFsources and with DFcollect, you want to think about what devices you need to use this. So thinking about especially your device storage needs, how many source documents will be loaded, how many visits, how many subjects on a person who's using DFsources on their device, specifically when they're scanning. So if you're taking a photo over to DFdiscover, that photo won't get saved to your device locally. It just gets sent over and then removed from your device. If you're loading it from your files on your device, that'll take up more storage space. And if you're using DFcollect, which allows for offline data collection, if you are downloading any data records with those data attached, you want to make sure that your storage is available to allow the storage of those images if they're needed while you're offline. When you're scanning PDFs, you want to make sure you're at PDF version 1.3 or higher. To make sure you have higher quality images, you want to use color and 300 dpi resolution. But if the higher quality is less important and you actually want as small size as possible of those PDFs, you want to use black and white or grayscale and 200 dpi resolution. For those of you who are self-hosting your instance of DFdiscover, you want to make sure you have enough storage for the anticipated volume of documents that you'll be getting for your study. And one consideration in there is the HD imaging option that's available for your server. If you do have that enabled, that will give you better quality and also give you larger file sizes. So that's something to consider as well. If you're being hosted by DFnet, that's not something you need to worry about. And the final consideration is training. So you want to make sure that the sites are well versed in whatever process they use for scanning, making sure they know how and what to redact, what the process is for certification and getting those documents attached, whatever feature or tool that you're using to attach those documents. And then for the monitors, making sure they're able to find and review the source documents in order to complete their job. So I'm going to hand it over to Jen now to give us a live demo of how things work with DFsources.
Hi, so I'm going to take us through DFweb and DF Explorer first. So attaching source documents to these programs, and then we'll go into DF sources and see how much easier life is there. So before I attach any source documents to either DF Explorer or DFweb, I first have to have a redacted copy. So it takes some time to redact this document and also get it certified as a copy of the original as well. So if I was going to go into DF Explorer, I would log in, choose my subject, choose my visit, we'll pick day 1, and since these are lab results, we'll attach them to the hematology form. Which already has one, sorry, chemistry form. And then I would go up to plate, attach subject document, and then I would choose the report from my desktop or whichever folder I saved it in, make sure it's the correct one, make sure it's redacted properly, and click attach. Acknowledge the warning and attach again. And now this document, this report is attached to this record. So it will stay there in DF Explorer. If I wanted to do the same thing in DFweb, I would log into DFweb, choose my site, choose my subject, and then we'll choose day 1 and hematology. And then here in DFweb, I would choose the hamburger icon over here, manage documents, choose files, and again, it would already have to be redacted and certified and choose the one I wanted to attach, click upload, and then I can close that. If I want to go back in and view it in DFweb, I would choose the hamburger icon again, manage documents, and then I'm able to click this PDF to view it here as well. So that's how attaching documents in DFweb and DFexplorer would work. I'm going to stop sharing here and jump over to my phone to share. Actually, I'm going to log into DFsources first because I can't hide my password if I share on my phone. Okay, and then I'll share this screen. Is that my video? Screen. So once you download DFsources, it will be this icon here. So we simply tap that. I'm already logged in, and I have two options here. I can either take a photo or I can upload the files. So I'm going to take a photo first. And it doesn't have to be perfect. So if I were to zoom out or be from higher up, it's okay. You have the options there of photo or black and white document or color document. So once I've taken a picture, I can hit the back button and it tells me here that I have incomplete identifiers. So I simply click on the image and I have some options here. So the first thing I can do is I can attach the key identifiers. So you click the pencil, I would choose the study and then the site. Choose the Austin site. We're going to choose subject and day 1 visit, and then whatever plate I want to attach it to. So let's say laboratory results hematology, and then I'll hit OK, and it will go to that subject's visit. And then if I want to crop this, I can click this second icon, click crop, and then I can pull in my corners. And what's really cool about this is it zooms in the upper left-hand corner, so I can see where I'm going. So you know exactly where your edges are going to be, and you're not cutting off any data on that source doc. So once you do that, you would hit apply, and now you have a lab document that you're able to redact and then certify. If this was in the wrong orientation, I can click rotate to make it portrait or landscape, whichever needs to be. If I'm not happy with the brightness, I can go to the furthest left icon and increase or decrease the brightness until I'm happy with it. And if it was color, I can make it grayscale here as well. And then this fourth icon allows me to redact. So there's an option here that will either allow me to pan and zoom. So if I wanted to zoom in before I redacted so I could see exactly what I was about to redact, I could zoom in and then zoom out. And then if I move the toggle bar over to edit, I'm able to start redacting. And the really awesome thing about this, or at least I think it's very awesome, is your line doesn't have to be perfect. So if I draw a nice squiggly line, it will still make a nice little rectangle. Let me zoom in more so you can see that. So if I zoomed in and I'm trying to redact that patient number and move myself back over to edit, I can squiggle this line and it will still be a perfect rectangle. And then if I do the same thing for doctor and decide, oh, I didn't need to redact that, I could just click this, the red X, and take it away. And then if you want to zoom out and move to another part of the document and say, okay, let's get rid of that birth date, we squiggle that line and it gives me a nice rectangle. And when I'm happy with it, I zoom out, make sure I got everything, and can move on to certifying the copy. So the C and the far right icon over here is how I would certify. So I review everything. I didn't click apply, did I? Laura, what am I missing?
No, you're good. So the redactions aren't shown when you certify. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so as soon as I'm ready to certify the copy, I would move this toggle bar over. It's going to ask me for my password. to make sure I'm who I say I am. Sorry, you can see my password. And then click done. And now at the bottom here, it says certified as an exact copy. And then this is now an exact copy, and it will be redacted here. When I'm happy with it, I can click the send, and it will upload to the database within that subject record. If I want to view what I've sent, I can click view sent, and then it will show me all the documents that I've sent into the subject records. Another option, if you don't want to take a photo and instead already want to have this available on your device, is to upload the files, and then you can choose the document and go through the whole process that we just went through again. It's just an option of taking the photo or already having the file. So if I stop sharing here and go back to DFexplorer, we can see the, we close the study and go back in. So it refreshes. We go back into this subject and day one, and then this plate. The document that I redacted and certified is available here, and we can view it here as well. So now it's attached to the subject record. That's all I had. Send it back to you, Laura.
Thanks, Jen. That was great. So I'm hoping that everyone is kind of excited now to try DFsources. I mean, the redaction and the certification is just, I think, such a step forward from where we've been with attaching subject documents in DFexplorer and DFweb. So if you do have DFdiscover 2021 version 5.4 and you have the API enabled on your server, you can try DFsources right now. So it's available on the Google Play and the Apple App Stores for Android, iOS, and iPadOS. And so you can log in with your existing DFdiscover account and start trying it out. And if you don't have that access yet, let us know and we'll work with you to get that hooked up so you can start trying it out. And one thing to add with our upcoming release, DFdiscover 2022, we are adding within the role permissions an option to enable or disable connection to DFsources. So by default, a role won't have access to DFsources, but then you can check the little box for DFsources within the role permissions, and then that will allow them to use it. So you can control whether or not users have access to this app or not, since it is freely available from the app stores on their devices. So we are excited for you to try it out. We're welcoming any feedback that you have. I saw Jane had a question in the chat about potential for uploading video or DICOM files. That's not available yet in DFsources, but if that is something you need, let us know. We'll add it to our list of things that we'll look into adding in future releases of DFsources. If you have any issues or questions or any feedback, you can contact the software support team at help@dfnetresearch.com. And I'll pass it on back to Rebecca.
Sorry, I was mute. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Jen. Yeah, I saw that you already answered Jane's questions. So if you think of a question, you can type it in or just can unmute yourself and ask the question out loud. But in the meantime, we have another question from Jane. With lots of uploaded source, will the database slow down, Laura?
No, the database itself won't slow down. You will find if you have higher quality images, they might take a little while to load if you have that open in DFexplorer, but it won't slow down the overall database. It just might slow down when you open up that record before you can see those actual source documents if they're larger.
I see that, Michael, you can unmute yourself and go ahead with the question.
Thanks, Rebecca. Laura, Jennifer, hi, this is Michael from the NIH. With that new app, DFsource, I didn't see, I'm not sure if I missed this, but do you have to log into that app or how does the permissions work?
Yeah, so you do have to log in. It's the same type of login screen that you see for DF Collect. So you specify the server name, your username, and your password, and it's the same user account. Yeah, so it's the same account as you use for the other tools for DFdiscover.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you, Michael. We have another question in the chat from John Russo. Do devices upload on Wi-Fi or is data plan necessary?
Wi-Fi is fine. Yeah, so if you're on Wi-Fi or if you're on data, just depending on your, you can disable certain apps using data. So it just works the same way as other apps. Yeah, so either work.
Great. Any other questions for Laura or Jen? Okay. We can give a few more minutes. In the meantime, if you want, Laura, I can make a couple more announcements. In the meantime, if there is any other question. So I'll be quick, but we are excited to share with you that we will be having additional opportunities to keep in touch and connected as a community. The first one, although the date is still to be confirmed, we would like to announce another webinar series in which we will share with you what's new in the new release of DFdiscover 2022. So stay tuned for late August or early September webinar announcement. Also super excited to announce that we'll be back in person to have in-person conferences, and this time DFnet crew will be at SCDM in San Antonio the next 11th to 14th September. So if you have plans to attend, stop by our booth. We will be having a booth presented there. And lastly, see you all, and we hope to see you all in DFAC 2022. This will be, again, a two-day DFdiscover user group event that will take place in November 9th and 10th in two half-day sessions that we will be, which will be full of interactive presentations, demos, and opportunities to share ideas. The format for DFAC, as you know, has evolved from in-person to virtual, at least for this year, we will be keeping it virtual. But the overall goal for DFAC has not changed. So let's bring the community together, learn from one another, discover challenges, and share solutions. So ideas are welcome, by the way. So submit your request to speak during DFAC. If you want to participate as a speaker, drop us a note saying I'd like to participate, and we will contact you. More details to come, but save the date. In the meantime, let me check the chat if there has been any other question. Jane has another question. The redaction abilities in DFsources, is that possible in DFexplore, DFweb?
I was expecting this question, so thank you for asking it, Jane. It is not yet. The redaction and certification is exclusive to DFsources right now. So, but if it is something that people love and we're getting good feedback on that, it's something we'll look forward to adding in future products and future releases.
Great. And not a question, but a compliment from Andres and 3 others. Thumb up. DFsources look great. So thank you, Laura, and the rest of the team for making it possible.
Thanks, Andres.
If there is no more questions, I think we can wrap up the webinar today. You know that you can always contact us. This is my email, but you know that you have also Laura's email or help or support. So you have different ways to contact us. Jane is saying it would be interesting if it would be possible to redact videos, Laura.
That sounds like a fun challenge, yeah. Jane. Very interesting.
Okay, noted, right?
Okay, this is Kay Arnold. Hey, you're going to send us the link to the recording, yes?
Sure, we will be sharing the recording.
Great.
We will probably need to make some edits, but we will share the recording with the group, and also we will be posting it probably in our social media and in our website too.
Great, thank you.
Thanks to you, Kate. Yeah, and thank you everyone who joined us for today's webinar. And as I said, the webinar will be available in our website after a few edits, and also we'll be sharing with you the recording. Let us know if you have any additional questions. You can reach out to us directly to us using our contact information. With no further delay, thank you so much and have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everyone.